本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It's Friday, October 16th, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 451. I'm your host, Austin Walker. Joining me today, Rob Zacny.
Good morning. I look
Patrick
like
Klepek.
shit. Holy crap.
What? Are you okay?
No, I just haven't seen myself in days.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I need to shower and shave. Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. I've been there.
It's peak
For what it's worth,
lockdown.
I was there 2 days ago, and I had to go into the office yesterday to shoot stuff. So I had to go give myself.
It's like trying to take wing and leave my fucking head.
Rob, do you know Clarion the Witch Boy at all? Clarion the Witch Boy, one of my favorite DC comic characters, has your haircut currently 100%.
Oh my god! I don't like that.
It's great. It's good. Anyway, Patrick, you're also here.
I want to shout out at Electric Gaunt on Twitter. On a previous podcast, I put a call to the wild, to our entrepreneurial listeners of Waypoint Radio. I said I would like a compilation of Rob Zacny awkwardly introing Waypoint Radio.
Oh my God.
Because he is shocked at every time he realizes that he has to do the intro, doesn't know what to do, and fumbles his way through it. And Electric Gaunt put out a compilation of every time Rob has introed Waypoint Radio. It is a delight. So please go check out their Twitter feed if you want the YouTube link for that.
Incredible. And Ricardo Contreras. Cado, how you doing? You got any intro shout outs? A new segment we're doing?
No, just fucking. Why does this Thursday feel like a Monday?
It has big Monday energy. I'm mad tired.
I'm not feeling it today. I'll be honest with you. I will
Rob's gonna bring out a razor and just start cleaning himself up during this podcast.
Here's the deal. Let me tell you how things get fucked up around here. All right, so I as one expects when you're sort of living that quarantine life, you get getting exercise, getting out, it becomes more important because you're spending a lot of time sitting around the house. Oh yeah. So I had this this brainwave where I was like, okay, so it'll be more efficient if I don't shower when I get up and I wait until after a workout and then I shower and shave and do all that stuff. That only works.
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop.
You gotta do it.
Whole plan.
Narrator 1 week later.
Yeah.
That plan is contingent.
Look at this piece of shit.
You actually being oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna squeeze in a little workout in the morning once work begins. I'm gonna check into Slack, and then I'm definitely gonna take an hour, 90 minutes to go through a workout and shower and shave. I'm definitely not going to monitor Slack obsessively for no fucking reason whatsoever. Nobody
in
cares.
Channels that he's never posted in. Rob is just keeping up on the culture and life segment.
Look, someone might DM me, and I gotta be here. I can't just say I'm gonna go work out.
And then it cascades, right? Because that's on day one. On day two, you're like, man, I can't go for a walk outside right now. I look like shit. I would have to take a shower, but I'm not going to do that until I work out. So I'm just going to work out in the apartment today, and then I'll take a shower. Hold up, what's that DM say? It says there's a new Ps5 Ui video. Well, that is obviously my priority this morning.
Well, and 3 days ago, I had a great Ring Fit workout. I was just feeling it, and I just got all the kinks sort of unkinked, all the spinal stuff adjusted. Good. Felt amazing. And then one day I'm out with the dog, and Mina chooses, there's a dog Mina is obsessed with, and Mina sees this dog, and she's like, holy fuck, it's that yellow lab. And yanks really hard, and I feel something twinge badly in my lower back. It's not so bad, but I'm okay. But the thing is, ever since then, every morning I've been stiff as hell as I get out of bed, and suddenly things like the floor feel like they're 8 miles away from me. Where Mina's food dish, I'm like, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to get that off the floor without blowing up my back. Can I bend down and pick it up? No. The answer is no. Can I just crouch from the knees? Ooh, those feel creaky too. Here's the plan. I am just going to like a first baseman, like really stretching out to catch the ball and keep contact on the base. I'm just going to continue spreading my feet further apart until like the triangle formed by my legs has such a wide base that somebody can just reach down and pick up the food dish.
Yeah, exactly.
But that means that like
stop.
first thing in the morning, like when I most need to stretching sounds like the worst fucking thing in the world. Where I'm like, so the solution for this is to get on the floor and like do exercises on the floor that's all the way down there.
And then to get up from the floor after? Impossible.
Absolutely not. Here's what I'm going to do instead. I am going to get over to my office chair. I'm going to jam a bolster pillow behind me as I sit down. And I'm going to sit frozen for 2 hours.
Oh,
and I'm not going to shower.
Just organically get into the right. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
You'll get there. Just by Monday, I think we'll see a whole new Rob. I believe that the Monday podcast, Rob Zacny is going to come in looking spick and
couple
span,
ways,
fresh
Austin,
and clean.
at this rate. We'll see a whole new Rob.
All of a sudden, cousin It is going to join the podcast.
I would love it.
He would look like, like a Seth Rogen character in the second act of a movie. Where it's like, oh no.
During the breakup. Yeah, yep. Absolutely. God. I hit a thing today, or actually last night, which was weird. So I went to the office yesterday because we were shooting some stuff, and I came back, and then like at 11 p.m. last night, my brain and my whole body was like, well, I got to go to bed so I can catch the bus to get into the office by 9:30 tomorrow. Like, it just was completely convinced I knew in my brain that was wrong, but my body was like, no, Austin, it's bedtime because you have a 9 a.m. meeting like always, remember? And that's one, not true, but it's wild how much my brain wanted that to be true.
Because you went to the office for one day.
For one day, and like no one else was there. Which was also just a weird experience. Also, our Tony Hawk ride skateboard was on some random person's desk, which I do not appreciate. I don't know where they got that.
Did you check it on the cabinet?
No, I did not check it on the cabinet.
Oh, fuck.
Sorry.
Because that's where
Did you need me to do that?
Well, no, it's just like that's where that was. So what about the rest of the stuff in the cabinet?
It's on someone's desk.
Oh,
exactly. People
God
are pilfering, getting what they need to survive. Someone needed the Tony Hawk ride machine.
I'm going to burn this for fuel.
Absolutely. It was weird. It was a weird
I hope
situation.
someone thought it was a real skateboard and was just like, who's going to use this? I'll just borrow it for a while. And then went, oh, shit, this is...
God damn it.
So, Austin, is the fact you were like getting ready for your morning meeting with CL the reason you couldn't stay up to play Hunt Showdown with me last night?
No, it's actually because I was playing Phasmophobia with other people already. So I could not do that, unfortunately. We'll talk about that later. We should talk about the PS5 UI that we all just crammed watching so that we could talk about it. PS5 has a UI that has some features that the first thing I thought of when I first saw them was like, oh, y'all are just eating Stadia's lunch, huh? I mean, to be fair, Stadia didn't bring a big lunch to begin with.
Stadia didn't even deliver on like that. Hey, love to be in a puzzle and then pull up a YouTube video and we'll find you the solution. That never explained how they're going to find like the non-neo-Nazi version of that video. But
God,
maybe if they moderated their spaces a little bit, it'd be a little bit easy. It won't be a problem.
Oh, that'll finally, Stadia, which is incompatible with the new Chromecast that they're releasing. Is going to be what gets them to fix up the you. Did you see that? They finally, for people who haven't used a Chromecast before, it's not like a Roku or something where you have like a full interface. Like it's like you load an app and then in the corner there's the little waves and then you can send a video signal to it. So there's no like storefront. You're just using existing apps on your iPhone or Android or whatever. They're actually, that made sense for a while. And then at some point they were like, we should probably make like a storefront that people should engage with. And they're doing that, but it also is not compatible with Stadia for like until like the second half of 2021 or something like that. So that's cool, I guess.
I know one person who uses Stadia, and he seems real happy with it. I know he plays.
I think it's the same person that we're talking. Yeah, I know who you're talking to.
Giancarlo. Listen, seems happy with it. Says that like not a lot of people play Destiny on it, but he's having a good time. So
if these new consoles were not coming out, that's where I'd be playing Cyberpunk. Because I'll just probably play it on one of those instead. Because that's probably the place that would play the best for my setup. Anyway.
God.
PS5 UI.
Can't believe someone somewhere is crunching to make Cyberpunk work on Stadia. That specific
God
person
damn it.
exists. Anyway,
One person toiling in the
Well, at least they were asked. Or were they?
God. Anyway, PS5. Sony released a video of the new PS5 UI, which is like one of those things where I'm like, until I'm watching a video, I'm like, man, fuck this. I don't give a shit about the new UI. And then I remember how bad UI has been in game consoles for years.
Oh my god!
I'm like,
Okay,
man, you know
hold
what?
on.
Maybe there's
The
a quality
cross
of life
media
thing.
bar was inspired, and it was it was the future. It
You mean the
pointed to a
XMB.
better future, but
Yeah.
we didn't go to that future because everything got
didn't.
fucked up.
Have you looked at the Vita interface like recently?
Is the
Remember the
bubbles?
bubbles?
The
Yeah.
bubbles. Yeah.
Oh my god!
I remember the bubbles. I do remember the bubbles.
Well, so the PS5 UI isn't actually all that meaningfully different than
No.
the PS4, it's more like the social features that they have.
That's the thing, yeah. Like they don't go through the UI at that like top level. They do like someone logs in, and then the first thing that they go to is a kind of screen where, yes, at the bottom you can kind of see that bar that is like, here's a game, here's notifications, here's music and volume settings and blah, blah, blah. But the main new thing is just like you're on a screen, sort of like a splash page for the game that you were last playing, I guess. This does not show like where the other games will be.
This starts up from suspend mode or whatever.
You're right. You're
from
right,
rest
yeah.
mode, and you're going straight into the game. So it's literally
Right.
just like if you had hit the PS button while playing a game, that's the menu that it starts up on if you were coming back in on a game.
Right. And then what it shows basically is like this is one of the new big pitches is there's going to be a kind of a splash homepage for every game that you play that includes a bunch of like tiles that have information on
cards,
them.
please.
Sorry, cards. Is it like the social media thing cards? Like I can have a card that has all of my like personal interests in it or like ways to contact me. And that's like, okay, here's news from the publisher. Here are my screenshots as a card. And then there's stuff that's like cards tied to levels.
Here's
in
the dad
game.
shit. Here is the thing that
Yeah,
I was aware this was happening before they announced it. And this UI
You
stuff has
messaged
been,
me very
did.
excited about this feature
Yes.
because you're a dad.
I was like, I'm not going to write about this. Let them announce it. But I have been briefed on from a source of like how some of this stuff is going to work. And the dad energy was like extremely strong on some of the UI stuff they're doing in the PS5. So if you watch the video, like there's small things like there's like percentage completion on trophies. I don't think that's for any of us, but for folks that are out there trophy hunting, it is like nice that you can see like you're at 20%
Excuse me,
instead
activities?
activities. That is the broader cards activities. This is the activities feature. Cards are the little UI elements that you're looking at. And the one that is I find the most personally interesting is something that like has like very limited time to play games. Is so they're showing like the new not Little Big Planet but the Sackboy Adventure, like the kind of platformer they're doing for the PS5 launch. You're at like on a world map and you can pull up these cards and it shows you different levels or different like activities that are available to you and roughly how long it's going to take to finish them. So it's like, hey, you about 10 minutes to finish this level. You have or you haven't completed the entirety of this level, and here are like the different activities you could do in there. And then digging into that is like when you want to go into a level, let's say you just haven't collected all the little, dinguses, the little collectibles that the game wants you to grab.
Yeah, the dinguses.
The dinguses. It'll kind of like list those out, and then you can also pull up a video that is either created by a developer or is made by someone in the community that can like show you like, hey, here's where the dingus is. Like you don't need to look around for it. Like you could just follow this like video walkthrough and know where it is around the building. So.
Which again is that feature that Stadia promised that just did not ever show up.
Well, because it also didn't make any sense. Like I never quite understood how. Like Stadia's pitch was, I think they were showing a Tomb Raider game, and it was like one of their elaborate puzzles. And I was like, you stuck and you're not sure what to do. Like, why scrub through a video? Like we will just use our technology to find a puzzle solution video, sync it up to the right spot, and you can watch that while you're engaging with the puzzle. Which just, if you thought about the logistics of that, like that just never made any fucking sense. Like how were they absent developer curated videos that were just like let's play walkthroughs? I didn't know how that was gonna work unless you're having the community do it, which is the balance.
Which is what Sony is doing effectively, right?
I think part of it was that they just were expecting to leverage their like video content ID shit, which apparently matches video close enough. But who knows? Yeah, who knows how that would have played out in practice? Because some games you have to retrace certain areas, and you're might not be on that part of the fucking quest if you're still in the same city or zone or whatever. Like that shit gets messy quick in bigger games that aren't as linear.
Is that so? Here, what's happening is the reason that it's able to pull those up is because each of those things is a already predetermined and marked thing by developers. Developers are putting
yes. So like in my understanding of how the feature works is like this is something where the developers, as they are publishing on PS5, there is like a back end system in which they are marking metadata that is breaking out like here are our activities, here is like our general sense of how long this will take users, and then like there's like wiggle like I believe there's like I don't know if it's an algorithm, I don't know how it works, but that like the estimates can change based on players. So it's like something that says 10 minutes for me might say 45 minutes for Rob, for example.
Wow.
That is how that will go. Like,
Ron self-dragged. I don't know if it was before the podcast or not. I don't know if it was in a recording, but he did that already. So I was just taking the layup that was put in front of me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it will like, I can't wait until the PS5 recognizes like, oh, you died how many times on this button? This is like a tutorial-ish thing. Okay, so hold on, let me recalculate your time to complete. So this game is going to take you 115 glorious hours. Enjoy your banquet.
It just says estimate. Don't worry, have fun. Have fun, little guy.
Hey, you sure you don't want to watch these videos? Usually we put gameplay, like we can show you where the solution to this puzzle is. We're gonna pull up a let's play for you, no commentary, and how about you just watch that?
We've hired a let's player. We're gonna let them. They're gonna take control. You can just watch them work through the boss. PewDiePie has generously offered to jump in here and finish the boss for you.
Handing your younger brother the controller that isn't plugged in. Generation.
So it is worth saying that the Get Help feature, which is the watch a video thing, is PS Plus member benefit thing, and it doesn't say where those videos come from. Are those videos provided by the publisher to like on a 1x1 thing?
My understanding is it can go either way. Like it's not because if you think about it, like think of like a smaller developer, that would be like an enormous burden. I think all these features are optional. As from what I don't think either of these are. Like they're often called like cert mandated, which is like in order to get published on a storefront, you have to do certain things. And I don't believe activities or the help stuff will be mandated to be on the platforms. They are heavily encouraging launch developers to include these features because they want it. This is the kind of thing that if it's not broadly like enjoyed by users and supported by games out of the gate, you could easily see this sort of like being a thing that's only in first party games or like select third party games where Sony says, please put this shit in as part of a co-marketing deal, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But it gets weird because like, go ahead, Cado.
Well, I was just going to say, it feels wild to me because one of those launch games is going to be Demon Souls.
Yes. I tweeted about this just before we jumped into this.
Just like,
which was their premier launch game, like the game for the launch of the PS5 is one here. I'm going to paste this because someone tweeted this at me as soon as I shared this. So check our, this is a screenshot someone made of like, if Ubisoft made Bloodborne, like what would the UI look like? And this includes markers for like gate A, gate C, a mini map in the corner, in the upper right hand corner before where you have like your experience points, or I forget what they call that in Bloodborne. Defeat checkpoint reach, and then your objectives: defeat the cleric beast, light the bridge lantern, defeat the werewolves on the bridge, open gate shortcut A, which that one makes me want to scream.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a marker for collect dropped blood echoes. And anyway, so that's just like an example of like, how does this fit? Does Demon Souls just not support it? It probably just supports the trophy, which is what people said. Is like it probably doesn't have markers for quests. It probably just says.
I bet it does.
But how? So
because Bluepoint's making it, or you know what I mean? Is Bluepoint right? Yeah.
Wait, to be clear, in my mind, activities were just trophies, right?
That's not
just
true,
the
though,
new name for it.
There's no. There's no way because
there's percentage complete and then there is estimated time to finish.
Yeah.
So if you're looking in the Sackboy thing, it's not it's like 10 minutes to finish this level. You have done 60% of the activities in this level. So
and those
are
activities are like
different markers.
Find the monk robes costume. Find the small wave emote. Find the pinata back end
I just saw that
piece.
as like a trophy that had multiple parts. That like some trophies like collect all of these things, and then the trophy is the whole thing. But I see what you mean because
would be just do this level, right?
Right.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. I'm skeptical because I don't think that they would not tell you that that's a trophy. They would want to encourage you to do the trophy thing. You know what I mean? Unless they're getting rid of trophies, which they don't say in this video.
Right.
So,
that's the thing. They don't even mention it, but
here we go. Look, over to the right, there's a different thing for bronze trophies. If you go to 320 in the video, the right of levels, there's a bronze trophy bounder, bronze trophy bubble binger. I almost said binger. Bubble binger.
Oh, you're right. I see. There's still cards for them separately from the adventures. Okay.
I would totally believe that Bluepoint will make that game, and this isn't a drag on them so much as it is, I think, a characterization on what their goals have been to bringing their games, to doing.
Or also
remasters.
just being a launch game for the PlayStation 5.
Yes. The launch game for the PlayStation 5 will probably want to take advantage of this. I hope it's not as much as like get this good ring. It probably won't
granted, be. The help system makes sense, right? Like it would actually like here are tips to fight, the boss. Like,
I bet it's
makes
bosses.
All the sense in the world.
I bet it's bosses. I bet it's God. I bosses.
But there just aren't like so. Someone pointed this out, which is that one of the design decisions that From Software makes is that it is not as though quest lines aren't tracked. Right, like in the code, people have pulled up and found this is how the quest line is tracked by the system in the background. The difference in a From Software game is that there is not a quest guide to bring up. There is no part of the
You just meet a dude named Ostrava who is like.
Yeah, especially when you review these games, it's like you just realize like you're never going to engage with any of the side quests because that's just something the community figures out collectively.
Dude.
When the game is out.
I'm still mad about that assassin in that one level of Dark Souls 3 because I'd kept my dude alive throughout the whole rest of the game. And then one day he just I started the game and I went to go meet him in that place and he was just dead. And I was like, what happened? And the game came out and like 2 weeks afterwards, people were like, oh yeah, there's an assassin that you have to find in that level. Otherwise he kills the Onion Knight this time. I'm like, fuck off.
You're really not meant to do like that's part of the charm is that they're unnecessary. They are just like color and characterization for the world. They don't
I always think, like,
feed into the endings.
If you get one quest line complete in those games, it like naturally it feels incredible. I did the one that was like the in Dark Souls 3 when I was playing for review. I managed to do the one with like the whatever the dark mage like trio of characters who are all creepy as shit and they seem really evil, but maybe they're the actual good guys, like the pilgrims or whatever. And I was like, every time I meet one of these people, I'm going to do my best to do whatever the fuck they want me to do. I know this is going to build up into something, and it totally does, and that felt good. So
there was the one I did in Bloodborne. Who's the lady that you can choose to fight?
Eileen the Crow.
Yes, and I'd like that's like one of the ones I did.
The one who I saw Vinny stab in the back when we played Bloodborne together. I was like, Vinny, what are you doing? Like, she didn't do anything to you. Anyway, but yeah, will there be one of these things that says talk to Eileen the Crow?
Because that is I know for folks that don't play these games, this seems like really pedantic and like what is it actually? Because I'd
rather have it be available. I think I really would at the end of the day.
So like Emmanuel messaged Myra, who's editor who works with us on Motherboard and on Vice Games and Waypoint, and he was like, I really like this feature when you told me about it, and now I hate it because isn't this like a dark future where then this stuff gets really popular? It influences game design to be segmented even more than it already is. It's like, well, I think that's already happening.
I think it's already
happening. Games are better about masking it, and this is just
dude. If I could have this right now. in Genshin Impact where I'm missing like a handful of these stamina orbs that I need to get, I would love
Or
it.
think of it, Assassin's Creed specifically is like a game that will sing with a feature like this.
But I think that's I think that's an insult to Assassin's Creed. I think that's like a good criticism to Assassin's Creed, because what it's saying is,
I don't know if it's a criticism. People I think people love the million quests, checklisting that game. That is, you may say,
but I'm saying
in the broad spectrum of like the way this game is designed, but it's like its appeal to a lot of people is 100%. No,
totally. I've played a lot of those games.
Throw the list at me, like 10,000 lists. I love it.
All that's proving is that Ubisoft is bad at throwing the list at you. If what you need is then a Sony platform level thing to help make sense of the list, then they done fucked up. They should be able to list good enough on their own selves, you know? Anyway, that feature is interesting. Yeah, please,
I think
Rob.
A thing that does like catch my interest here is the degree to which this will be like crowdsourced. Like, I think for me the big question is, it doesn't scale if you're making developers submit all of this and curate it and get really granular. Where it does scale is if you can somehow create incentives, and you barely need to because people in communities love to do this shit anyway. If you let them sort of like upvote and like create ways to really granularly fill in these hint systems and like the sort of guide content, where I think that does leave me a little bit curious is the degree to which this begins to impinge on, like, we are aware the degree to which guides and shit have become an integral part of the games media model. And even that might be old news. Like, the model's always changing. A thing that worked 2 years ago stops working, et cetera, et cetera. But I am curious, like, what this ends up meaning for what's become a pretty serious ecosystem of both publication-driven guide content and then also, like, just YouTubers who that's their bread and butter.
When game developers these days send you, like, early code to, like, just to illustrate, like, how pervasive this has become and how much it's been, like, become enormously popular and a source of income for, you know, broad publications like IGN and lots of YouTube creators who that's their bread and butter, is like when you get embargoes. Now embargoes have different often it's like, here's what you can say for like the preview coverage and like this yada 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 yada. And then here's what you can say for review coverage and yada yada yada. And then here's what you can do in video form, like yada yada yada. And now there is almost always, especially for bigger titles, like a section that's like, and here's what you can do for game guides, yada, yada, yada. Like it is so prevalent that there's early access given to publications where the whole idea is like, you're only giving this not for them to critique it, but so that they can start chopping the game up into a guide that can go up alongside the launch of the game.
This is a thing also that I've been interested in for years and years, because the other part of this is using players as content creators who also cannot then build their own brands. So I actually read about this. There was a kind of a academic article. It was not peer reviewed, even though it was in a peer reviewed journal, but they just asked me to write about something. You can look it up. It's called Watching Us Play: Postures and Platforms of Live Streaming. It was in Surveillance and Society in 2014. And one of the things I noticed at that point, which was right when the PS4 and the Xbox One had first started letting people stream from those platforms, is that there was not a lot of way for you as a streamer on those platforms to personalize or brand or own any of your content. You were just kind of thrown onto like a screen of people currently playing games. And yes, if you had a PlayStation Eye and a camera, you could talk, but you were not able to do the high level engagement that someone who's streaming via an expensive PC was able to do.
There's none of that in either of these machines now, right? 100%. None of that's changed, right?
I don't think any of that's changed. PlayStation has not come out and said, and here's how you can do a layout, here's how you can moderate your chat, here's how da-da-da-da-da. And so that's kind of fascinating. This has been the thesis of this piece that I wrote was basically that there is kind of a passive streamer posture and an active streamer posture, and that console manufacturers really want to keep players in that passive streamer posture when they're just playing directly with the game, because what they get is like non-editorialized, clean video where someone is just streaming and then they can like monetize that video somehow or kind of instrumentalize it. And if that video is what then turns into your help video, then that's like an incredible pipeline for producing those videos, which then you're literally selling to people by way of PS Plus subscriptions. So I'm very curious to see how for small games that are not submitting their own videos, like Rob said, where is that stuff coming from? Is that coming from, Jill, the streamer girl who has like an account with 6 people who watch her? She just streams from her PS4 or from her PS5. And then the PS5 algorithm is like, yeah, she just completed this activity. Let's chop that video off and like send it out to 10,000 people today who wanted to see how to get the monk robes or whatever. Because if so, that's a very interesting and I think illustrative labor story happening that I think speaks to one of the things that these companies would like to do more of.
And there's always the tension between people who are like, there are going to be people who hear that and are like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
People just have to figure out a new thing. Like the situation is right now, there's a lot of people who figured out a way to make a service they provide somewhat viable as an income stream, as a model for attracting audiences. Totally. What the PS5 UI and the way it integrates this stuff suggests is a future where that stuff isn't personalized that way. It doesn't become part of someone else's business model. It sort of fits into a Sony user experience model, right. And it's not anybody else's business model at all. And I think that could be like, is that more convenient for players? Moderately. Honestly, as neat as this looks, it's still a pretty marginal improvement over me like opening my phone one-handed and being like, I'm stuck in the safe room.
It's picture in picture.
Yeah.
Like you can snap it to the side of the screen.
I think
see
the UI
it while
stuff is
you're
cool.
playing.
Yeah, it's what I already do when I'm playing PC games.
Yeah, you're holding your phone up and like mangling through a screen with like one hand.
Or the one that I think is like open and shut improvement is, how much time do I have left in this level? The use case that I said to you, Patrick, when I first heard about this stuff was like,
Ghost of Tsushima, the final quest that's like 3 hours long out of nowhere.
It's 1 a.m. Some NPC said, "Are you sure you're ready to do this?" And I
don't know. Am I?
I don't know. Am I? Yeah. Is this 30 minutes or is this 3 hours? Or Horizon Zero Dawn did this twice. I don't know if you remember this. The end of Horizon Zero Dawn, someone is like, "You're not going to be able to come back after you go down in this tunnel." I'm like, "All right, shit. All right, I'm going to power through tonight. I'm going to beat this
like 90
game.
minutes. That's usually like roughly the time.
And then
through, like,
it ends up being, you go into a tunnel, then you have a big arena fight for like an hour. And then it's like, all right, 4 more hours in this game are left. Like, motherfucker, you told me. And if I could have just opened up a menu and seen, okay, this is a long segment of the game that they're warning me about, not the end of the game. That would have been really nice. So I do think from a usability standpoint and just like a commitment, and also the classic, hey, is this a quest I'm supposed to care about thing? The question of like big open world RPG. And I'm like, is this a real quest or is this secretly just go to this place and kill 7 goblins? It will be nice to have.
You want like qualitative judgments being in there.
I would actually love it to go further. Yeah, give me
should I keep this character alive? Hey, PlayStation, is this companion a piece of shit? He kind of sucks. And like PlayStation comes back with, he's a slow burn.
Or like if there was just like from Outer Worlds.
Just a thumbs up or a thumbs down on like different activity markers, and people just be like, "Nah, this quest is shit."
I actually would not. I totally would not be surprised.
Here's the loot that you get from it.
Totally. Why would that not show up here? You know what? It might show up here eventually. Or again, the Walking Dead end of chapter style. Here's what people voted on, or here's what people did in this situation. Percentages. I could see those showing up on this screen. They're not saying they will now, but. Did you or did you not kill a Strava, Prince of Boletaria? Who could say? Anyway, it's interesting, and I'm now increasingly curious to see what the Xbox UI stuff will look like. I do wish more of this video was just on the UI because I just want to know how snappy it feels and just like show me what it looks like to have 7 games installed and if I'm bouncing between them. You know what I mean? So
they don't want to show you that because like you're still gonna have to dig for the part where like I need to remove this game from I need to see how big is this install? How much from this game is taking up my hard drive? They don't want to show you that because I bet you still have to like dig through it like a raccoon into like the trash bin of the interface.
Yeah.
Which was not an experience you had to worry about with the cross media bar. Oh yeah, you just went to the column and you just scrolled down to the exact piece of information.
It was cool. I did like the cross media bar. Anyway,
parties.
parties. We don't need to get into all that. There are parties. There's some stuff in this video about screenshots and sharing and do some edits.
There was I don't know the scope of the controversy necessarily, but the PS4 got its like firmware 8.0 update, which is bridging some features with PS5. Like all this stuff we're talking about is PS5 only, but there are certain things that are going to exist also on PS4, and they like introduced a new policy where they, like when you're entering like a party chat with people, like a message shows up and says like, hey, like, by the way, like these are recorded, and if for like moderation purposes, we could go back and like listen to this shit. So like, hey, just like letting you know.
Yeah.
And caused a lot of people to get like really anxious because like it was like really plain language of like what they were doing. But that's what everybody's
already been doing.
Like it's like, yeah, like that's how most of these services work. They reserve the ability to go back and, you know, they may not be actively listening to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no one, you know, like just like piping into your Xbox or whatever. But, you know, if you get flagged for some report, you know, they can pull that shit up for some indeterminate amount of time.
On other PS5 news before we move on, we should know that they did also recently update the backwards compatibility stuff, which has been kind of an ongoing
the head of PlayStation at the moment is someone who famously said like, who gives a shit about old games, basically.
Yeah. and then there was kind of mixed messaging during that Mark Cerny GDC talk type video.
Yeah, how are saved games going to work? It seemed like every day you woke up and a different developer was like, well, so like your save game on PS4 can only work if you follow this upgrade path. It was not as clear as like Xbox, which has like a very, very, very clean message, which is, all your shit works. Don't sweat it.
Don't worry about it. It's good.
You got an Xbox. You have an Xbox 360, and you didn't pay for Xbox Live Gold, which is the only way to get cloud saves on those platforms. Don't worry, we're waiving that fee. Your games are just turn it on. Your saves will upload. Boom, they're ready to go for your new Xbox, which is pretty seamless.
And then the other big thing with the PS5 was like, Mark Cerny had said like, oh, we're testing the 100 most popular games, not best. And that ended up being like, okay, well, does that mean that there's 100 games that launch on backwards compatibility? Does that mean that those are the only ones that are going to be
what does that even mean?
Certified?
What's best?
Right, exactly.
Be best.
It was most popular.
Now coming to PlayStation.
I think it was, yeah, exactly. Now they've said everything except for these games. Here's a list of PS4 games that are not playable on PS5.
And also, isn't there a bunch of games where like, look, you might boot up a game and that's just going to be not great. It's not going to be like, it might crash. It might not work.
Some functionalities that were available may not be available. In addition, some may exhibit errors or unexpected behavior. Yeah.
Some might have a different Spider-Man.
I'd rather they just put out the caveat though, and just say, look, your like niche game that we didn't get around to
might not
work perfect, but I'd rather it just because it's not on a list that like, because it would be easy for them to just say flag that shit, like don't let anyone even try to play it. I don't know, like,
well, there is a list of
what if the
games.
Problem is other games are outright banned that it won't even load?
Yes, 100%. Okay. Afro Samurai 2 Revenge of Kuma
games...
Volume 1 will not load. Just Deal With It will not load. Shadow Complex Remastered will not play. Robinson the Journey, We Sing, Shadwin, Joe's Diner, DWVR, TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge 2 will not. Sorry, Rob, I know. And then Hitman Go Definitive Edition, which
that's a great game.
That's a great game. I think we need to make
get your shit together, Mark.
I think we
take
have
some time off from Knack 3 and figure out Hitman Go on.
Put Hitman Go on PS5. Put it on.
What is that only just makes me more curious. Like, what is the technical hiccup that's preventing? Like, was Hitman Go made on some proprietary engine that just doesn't work?
I guess that's possible, right?
Like,
it was a mobile game first.
Deal?
Maybe there was some sort of like I don't know. Anyway, Hitman Go is great.
I do have a quick question about the PS5 UX though. Did they always with parties like foreground the you're just hanging out in a party and everyone can watch each other's games simultaneously? Was that always like such a talking point?
You could do
you
it.
You could share screen and share play on PS4.
You can share,
but it seems more seamless here.
Here it's seamless in the sense that you can do it while also playing a different game. So I just did this for Save Point to watch Evan play some Tekken. Evan Narcissus, who is tied to the Miles Morales new game. He's writing on that, and I just saw him doing like an interview about that, and it seemed good. And also, just disclosure, Evan and I have worked together on a comic. But he showed me some Tekken, and that meant that was like a pain in the ass to get to work right. That required both of us to go into menus in a way that like was like, is this working? Is this not working? There's
I've never clicked that feature where like I'm playing on a PS4, and then I'll bring up my friends list and it's like someone's playing this and like, do you want to watch? I was like, I don't know what that means.
It's a whole thing. Here,
I'm just not going to touch it.
This seemed pretty seamless, and like the idea of watching Rob play something while I'm playing something else, it was just not. I don't think that exists on the PS4.
Can I get into the chats like Rob is playing Control and like he's having trouble at a boss and like I'm just in this? He gets like one little notification.
I know where this is going. Eat shit.
It pops up. It just says like,
seems you missed the power.
Patrick Klepek is watching, and I could just be in there like, boo.
Use your shield. Use your barrier.
Hey, activate overdrive. You didn't get overdrive mode in Rage? No, why? What happened? Why didn't you get that mode?
Rage bugged. That's not my fault. That game sucked.
Okay.
That game also,
But no,
right now it's a request. If you hit that and they're not already streaming, you get a pop up like, hey, so-and-so wants to watch, and then you start up a little stream.
And then it's a private stream, right? This isn't like exclusively tied to like you're doing Twitch
Cannot
or
wait
YouTube or
for
whatever.
a new platform to soft block Patrick on. But I think watching that part of the video, for a minute there, I was like, I cannot imagine, like, that's not how I engage with any of this shit. Like, usually I turn machine on, play game.
Yeah.
Message from friend. I don't want to talk to my friend right now. I'm here
playing
to play game. I'm at the game machine. This isn't my fucking email. I'm sorry. You can bug me on Discord where I can't control the push notifications. So sure, do that. But then it occurred to me, it's COVID times and we're all deeply lonely. And
winter is coming.
Yeah, I was like, suddenly I was like, wait though, so we could all just be hanging out and they're playing different games and like you could be like just shooting the shit and
people
then
also
you'd be
already do this for sure. Like this is absolutely a way people engage with their friends. It's just like being on a group chat but not doing the same thing, right?
Right, 100%. That is a huge part of games culture and like the community stuff. You just don't get to watch other people do it play their own games at the same time. For sure,
the huge part of like Discord itself, right? Like sharing your screen and
I mean,
and all that.
That's
so
actually
making it.
That's a good comparison. I'm in a lot of Discords where people will be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go play the new Valorant like map. Who wants to like watch me walk around it and just hang out and chat? Or I'm gonna do a run in Slay the Spire. Or I'm gonna go play some Magic. Who wants to like hang in the chat and watch while I do that? That has become, I think, increasingly on PC part of the way people socialize with games, and so seeing it more directly, brought into PS5 makes sense, I guess.
I was I'm working on this piece about Among Us. About the premise of it was like for folks that have trouble lying, what is it like to play a game about lying? And someone wrote in that is a teacher, and like the ebb and flow of like what games kids are playing. They were like, well, Fortnite used to be the thing, and then now it's not. Unrelated to like it being like not on iOS anymore. But that Among Us is like just the game of the moment amongst like kids and like junior high and stuff like that. And he had noticed that I guess like, we're all playing on PC, but like this game is also enormously popular because it's free to play on mobile. I presume it's on Android and iOS, but I know it's at least on iOS where it's just got ads, and it has like a chat feature. And obviously we're on voice chat, but people are playing this game on just regular chat. And so when they're in class theoretically, they are also playing Among Us on their phone, but they can't do the sussing out of who's sus over voice chat. And so while they are on their computers, they're also looking down at their phone and typing into chat while they're figuring out who's the fucking imposter, like during these sequences where they're supposed to be, I don't know, working on algebra or what it is. Because you can't necessarily call out somebody who appears to be typing when it could just be something they're working out for their class.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, we should take a break and then talk about video games instead of video game UI. Does that make sense?
Sony, what's the ambient music for PS5? Show me the ambient screen.
Good question.
Best thing about the PS4, you just leave that screen on and like just good vibes.
And different themes have different music. If you want the original organic ambient stuff, that's cool. If you want the Tetris effect, like feel good about humanity song, you can put that on there. I'm sure that like you can just go to the Bloodborne screen and have some like gothic vibes. Shit. Yeah, fucked up shit is playing.
Cue up that fucked up shit.
Yeah, can you put on that fucked up shit and the Bloodborne like title screen?
Hey, I'm feeling some Freudian sexual anxiety. Can you bump up the Bloodborne theme?
The Bloodborne. Can we get that Bloodborne theme going?
This is gonna be my new thing. When we're out of COVID, it's been a long time since I've gone into a bar.
Freudian sexual anxiety. All right,
play some.
Patrick's new bit.
Yeah, we're out of COVID. It's time, baby.
He's gonna go to a bar.
Yep. Patrick's silent. Patrick's stun locked right now.
Got me. No, fine.
Combo breaker.
Let's take a break.
All right, we're just take a break. That's the end of that story. We will be right back. All right, we're back. Let's see if we can bring the volume in here down a little bit. Rob, what was the name of your memoir again? Loud as I Wanna Be.
I don't know.
It was before we started this podcast. Cado was like, Austin, I think you're a little loud. I'm like, yeah, definitely. And Rob was just like, loud as I wanna be. I'm like, what are you?
Like, man, I brought up that control bit earlier, and Rob was just like putting chambers in the shell. He's like, don't worry. I got you, fam.
Patrick is so flustered, he just said putting chambers in the shell instead of shells in the chamber.
God, he thinks a clip is a magazine.
Hey, I'm gonna need a video of every time Rob crosses up Patrick and makes him trip on the basketball court. Okay, thanks. Video games. I want to quickly just say how good Phasmophobia is. Patrick, you need to play Phasmophobia.
I know. Yes, the new game, like COVID is. Yeah. I don't know how much is like COVID related. Like I've been trying to tease out whether this would be like a piece with exploring. You. But this in 2020 we've had Fall Guys, Among Us, what's the I'm blanking on it, but these series of games that sort of like multiplayer, sort of like asynchronous, social, like
Animal
oriented.
Crossing, even
Animal Crossing,
was a big part of this, yeah.
Games that just sort of like blow up, and this one, which I keep wanting to calling Phantasmagoria.
Me too.
And I don't know that I will ever be able to not do that until someone I'll have to have the name in front of me in order to fix that. But yeah, I know this is the new. So explain to me how. I know it's a multiplayer game. I know there are ghosts. You showed me some clips.
I showed you
last
some clips
night while I was
yelling.
playing a separate scary game. I was like, look at these clips of this other scary game. So explain literally how it functions.
How it works, how it functions. So it is up to 4 players. It's first person. There is VR. I've not touched VR because fuck that. Yeah. And you are a group of ghost hunters or ghost investigators. There's going to be a separate ghost cleaning squad that theoretically comes in after you're done identifying the ghost. Your job is to go to a place that is reportedly haunted, and you're given a little bit of information. You're given the map of the place. There's kind of like a set of, I want to say maybe there's a total of 8 maps or something like that. The Steam page does not say how many maps there are. But 7 maps right now. And that okay, this is a ghost that will only respond to people when they're alone, or will respond to people when they're in a big group together. That's fine. You know their name, which you can invoke to make them angry, because this game has microphone input, which is very important to the vibe of this game. Again, you have map layout, and then you have a bunch of equipment each person in your crew can carry, and you have a van. You're in like, you have like a ghost hunter van that's parked out front of this like suburban duplex or whatever, right?
Well, this is basically like, this is turning into a video game. What is that? There's like the reality show, the folks that go.
Ghost Hunters?
Yeah, Ghost Hunters. Like,
or like
I was
BuzzFeed.
thinking Scooby-Doo.
You're thinking it has big Scooby-Doo vibes. It also has big BuzzFeed Unsolved vibes, which is like, I don't know if you've seen BuzzFeed Unsolved, which is, I believe it's called BuzzFeed Unsolved. No, maybe that's Unsolved is Unsolved the true crime one. Unsolved is the true crime one. What's the ghost one called? Maybe that's also Unsolved. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because
it's Unsolved
BuzzFeed, it is Unsolved.
Supernatural.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that show has big like goofball millennials are trying to do ghost hunting shit and like sometimes are cracking up while doing it, but also it's kind of spooky. And anyway, because you're playing this game with your friends is why it has that vibe. You have a bunch of equipment. Each player can carry 3 things with them. And you're using that equipment to identify what type of ghost it is. You have a journal that has a list of all the different types of ghosts that there are. So, for instance, you might look for a whether or not a ghost responds when you talk at it via a spirit box, which is like one of those machines. It's like a radio frequency thing that's just scanning constantly. And in real life, it just kind of stops occasionally, and you hear like a radio host say a word, and like, that was the ghost speaking to me through the thing, right? And in this, it's just kind of like you're asking questions, and will it respond? UV lights to see if it leaves fingerprints, etc. Right? And so different types of ghosts give different types of evidence. So, for instance, a spirit gives spirit box, will respond on the spirit box, will leave fingerprints, and if you leave a journal out for it, a book out for it, it will write in the book by itself. If you know where it is, and if it's encouraged to kind of interact with you. And so what you end up doing is going into this house, walking around the house with like an EMF meter and a thermometer, looking for a room that's a little colder, maybe, because that can indicate that there's a ghost there.
Yeah, all the tropes.
All those tropes. Speaking of tropes, while your sanity meter is decreasing, because horror games, as it does, as it be doing. I mean, to be fair, I think you could also just call it the fear meter and have it go up.
So that's actually like in the, I can't talk about the new Amnesia yet, but that is the game. Other than what was
Eternal Darkness?
Eternal Darkness and Amnesia sort of like popularized the notion of like the sanity meter as like a mechanic, like a substitute for health. In the new one, it's called Fear, which is just like, look, like that just gets you away from the weird mental health like connotations, you don't have to, and it still lets you keep that like cool mechanic.
Like being around ghosts would make this character fucking frightened as shit, and maybe make them think that things are happening. Act erratic
or do different things. Like you could just be scared.
And so what you end up doing is kind of going into these dark houses and needing to zero in on where is there a haunting. There's always a haunting. You're never going to a place and like, oh, there's no ghost here. We're good. Are you trying like, are we trying to save them? We're just trying to like photo. We're trying to make it's real. It's real. You have 4 objectives on every map, right? One of them is always the same, which is identify the type of ghost, which is I need 3 pieces of evidence to prove. It's like Carmen Sandiego. It's like I need these 3 things to know it's the type of ghost it is. 2 is, I mean...
Wait, so this is a world where ghosts are accepted as reality. This isn't like we're trying to like...
I don't know. It's not clear. I guess it's not. They haven't done the world building necessary to prove that. But I got some fucking photos of ghosts. So you get money when you get photos of ghosts. You get money when you get photos of evidence of ghosts. So if you
who are we selling this to? Who's
collectors? I don't know, Patrick. It's
I'm
early
genuinely
access.
curious. Okay, all right.
If you pour salt and get a photo of a UV footstep in the salt, then that means that's a ghost footprint. That's $20 in my pocket.
So, like, in a post-Alloys UFO world, I'm starting to realize how cheap Proof of Ghosts would end up marketing for, where it's like, I got it. I've got a photo of a fucking ghost, and people will be like, I'll give you like...
Dude,
$1 on Patreon every month for like
you got a Ko-Fi?
That's like, exactly how it is. Because like you end up going like, all right, we already know what this is. We know that this is an Oni. We know that we've already gotten the picture. So you get side objectives like take a photo of a dirty sink, because sometimes the ghosts will make the sinks dirty. That's a weird thing, but it's true. Ghosts do make the sinks
COVID dirty. I got a lot of demons.
Keeps happening. Yeah, my place is fucking haunted, y'all.
Rob as he lumbers around his place.
You get like a bonus. You get sometimes there's a side objective that's like prevent the ghost from hunting you by deploying a crucifix or by cleanse the area with a smudge stick, etc. Stuff. Smudge sticks are
so God is real in this mythology. All right,
we don't know that.
Why is the crucifix?
I got two reasons to say I don't know about that. One is maybe they just don't like crucifixes. Maybe it has nothing to do with God. They're like, fuck that shit. I don't like that. I don't fuck with that. Two is
I don't believe in religion. I was standing. That on
I sent you a video last night that was me jumping on top of where the crucifix was deployed to protect me from this ghost. That ghost tore me up. That ghost went to town on me, boy. Did not care. So,
fingers on the face, very strong Samara from The Ring vibes.
100%. I mean, there are a bunch of different ghost types, and there are also a bunch of different ghost models, and those are not connected one-to-one. So like a banshee can look like a grudge demon and make the grudge noise at you as you're, even though banshees
that clicky thing, I hate that noise. Don't like it.
That thing, I hate that shit. You're gonna really hate that shit when you're in a big high school with no lights on, running down the hallway with your friends.
Oh, fuck.
The kind of rhythm of this game is that you go in. I love the rhythm of this game so much because you go in with your crew and you're like, all right, I'm going to bring in the spirit box, a UV light, and like a good flashlight. You're going to bring in a motion sensor, a camera so we can kind of like a video camera so we can get ghost orbs, they're kind of
figuring out your build.
You're figuring out your build, and you kind of have this like first 3 minutes or so of like just kind of like shuffling things in and out of the house and getting set up to kind of start working your way through the rooms and seeing what you see.
So you have to like bring your equipment in
every
from the van.
time. And you only have 3 inventories.
Oh, that's good.
And so you're like, well, we're not going to bring the crucifix in at first because the ghost probably won't hunt us right away. You kind of get 5 minutes at the beginning of each round where you're safe. The ghost isn't angry enough to hurt you yet. But then you get to the situation where you're like, all right, we got 2 of our 4 objectives done. Do we just want to leave? Do we just want to take a wild guess? This thing is either a shade or a phantom. Let's just guess and get the fuck out of here. My sanity is really low. I'm very scared personally right now. And then you go like, well, wait a second. If we go back in and get a photo, we could get $20 more. And if we get $20, I can afford a candle for the next mission. And so you make that decision.
Please, my family is dying.
Candles, $20. That rhythm is really good, and then you get I cannot undersell how good the in-game voice stuff is. You get 2 buttons. You get a local voice button, and then a voice over the a walkie-talkie button. And the walkie-talkie is like garbled and bad. And if the hunt is on, if the ghost is coming for you, you cannot talk to anyone who is far away or like outside of the house. And we were playing where we had 3 people going in and then 1 person as our operator sitting back in the truck, going through all of our camera feeds, watching the motion sensors that we'd set up, stuff like that.
And so that's accessible remote. So somebody, if you want that data, has to
right. Well,
hold your hand up. Yeah,
I'm going to say here 100%. That is,
but
she
also
was like,
in theory,
I don't want to go in. Yeah.
Right. That gives people an out depending on, how they respond.
Dude, that was
to
exactly
spooky
it.
Things.
She was like, I don't want to be in that house. I'm thrilled to play this with you guys. I want to be your operator, but I'm not she would come in and help us mule stuff into the house at the beginning.
For the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. 100%. Or like in the middle where we'd be like, Janine, we really need smudge sticks right now. Can you please bring those in or bring in the UV light? Just leave it in the lobby.
Just put your hand over your eyes and just like dump them down at the front of the school.
And it's the thing that ends up being so good is there's the local talk, which echoes and reverberates in a way. Walking around the bigger spaces in that game with the local non-radio talk was the most it felt like being in a big place with people since COVID started for me, because of the way your voice like bounces around the room. It feels so good. And so hearing someone like talk as they walk away from you and you're like, Jack, you're going too far away from us. Let's stick together.
It's not clean like Discord and Facebook and Zoom and all the other audio stuff that tries to make it sound pristine.
And this is it. Like I just want to hang out in the cursed asylum lobby in Phasmophobia. That's the most it's felt like being with real people.
It's like going to a dive bar with your friends.
100%. Yeah, please listen. I had a beer last night. It's a great drink a beer. Play this game with your friends.
I bet.
Yell because the other thing that happens is like. You need someone to be willing to be a shithead to the ghosts, because sometimes
like
the ghost
basically,
yeah. So the ghosts respond to you speaking. And it seems like anecdotally, and I like the anecdotal quality of this game because I feel like it's cool to be like, I think that thing worked, and other times like that shit doesn't work at all. This is all bullshit. I like that. It's good. That's
and you don't know if it's early access or if it's just the game intentionally like being obtuse.
100%. Last night we had a wraith, and wraiths aren't supposed to be able to walk through salt. This motherfucker definitely walked through salt and killed me. And like, is that a bug, or is that we don't really understand how wraiths work? I guess the description says they almost never touch the ground, and maybe in this case they touch the fucking ground and walk through salt. I don't know. Anyway, I had another point and I got distracted because I was thinking about dying in Phasmophobia. That's how it goes sometimes, I guess.
Well, I think it's fascinating because I was thinking about this. I can speak abstractly about playing the new Amnesia instead of about the game itself. But I don't like to play horror games by myself. Like my entire relationship with horror is either streaming it for an audience or watching movies with like my wife when she's out of town. Like one, because I would be murdered if I watched like a good horror film, like not with her. That's because we watch them together. But I also wouldn't like, I don't like being scared in a big house by myself. Like that's not my relationship with like the medium. Like it's like a roller coaster. Like I like doing it as a communal thing, like with friends, or really it's with my wife. It's like what we bonded over when we first met. And so like when I've been playing this spooky game by myself, I like kiss my wife goodnight. I'm like, well, down to go to the dungeon and play this scary game by myself, I guess. And like, she doesn't like watching video games. She doesn't want to watch me play this, so I can't even share it with her. So then it's just like, it's weird because part of what I think has to be the appeal of this is it's not even just like a multiplayer game where you're off doing your own things and not talking to each other. Like part of what makes horror work for a lot of people is the fact that you can't like go like grab someone's arm or hold their hand, or someone gets up to go to the bathroom. Like it's the breaking of the reality
100%.
makes the scares like more bearable. And like that's true for me, even as someone that loves the medium, loves being scared. I still like the fact that like when I know a jump scare is about to happen, like the strings are happening, like I can grab my wife's hand. And it's like that grounds me in a moment. And I imagine speaking, just literal speaking
100%.
During this game, talking like it works on a similar sort of level, and honestly makes it more like approachable and accessible for folks that may otherwise be like, I don't like
100. And that does
shit.
bring me back to what I was saying before, which I now remember, which was sometimes you need someone to yell at a ghost to try to get them to show themselves. And so the tactic that seems to work the best
just
for
a
me,
Leroy Jenkins. Just
you need
like,
someone to be
come
like,
at
oh,
me.
You're just a piece of shit coward, aren't you, Mike Jacobs? Because you get their name, and if you say their name, it invokes them. But if you insult them, it seems like it does it more. And
well, maybe it's like the aggressive, like the loudness. Like I don't know what the nuance.
That might totally be it.
I don't know if this is true. I'm gonna choose to believe it's true. But someone wrote a Steam review for the game, and I saw it going around on Twitter where they were playing with their friends. And they made an audible fart, which the mic picked up, and then the ghost came out and killed them. And they said, I love this game. I farted, and then a ghost killed me.
Incredible.
Which I think just speaks to who knows how the game is interpreting it, the degree to which it's interpreting like what the player is doing. But maybe it's just like it could be how loud you are.
Totally. And so, but sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is a ghost that only responds when someone is alone. Austin, we need you to go in that room, close the door, and just call it a piece of shit. Here's a camera with 2 shots. Like, we don't think it's going to kill you. We smudge stick the room. We lowered the chances of a hunt, but we do think you can get it.
How does this smudge
I think it's like
work?
sage. It's like a sage that you light, and then you kind of like walk around the room and
all right, sure,
smoke or whatever. And you don't smoke it. It does look like a big. It does look like a big blunt, but it's not.
We're just gonna bake. We're just gonna bake this. Ghoul and bake.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna once I get this ghost high.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm gonna go in there with this sage, and I'm gonna go talk to Mike. I'll let you know how it goes.
And so you're like, Mike Jacobs. First, you're like, how old are you, Mike? Mike, are you here with us? Mike, show us a sign. And sometimes like lights will flicker or whatever. But sometimes you're like, you know what, Mike? I'm glad you're dead. Mike, I'm glad I don't have to see your face ever again. And then
do you have details? Can you call him out on like this is what you did?
You don't have specifics, but you can.
Okay.
I will invent.
Like you're not like
things.
tracking serial killers or like these are people
Not as
that,
far
like,
as I know.
made like a spiritual mark on a place. And like
you don't know. Maybe they were killed
Okay.
here. Maybe they were killed. Maybe they are a killer. Who could say? Sometimes they seem to have scars on their ghost forms. Other times they have giant axes and walk right past you, and you go ah. You go I forgot to get the camera. I forgot to fucking shoot the camera. God damn it! I have to stay in here now for another 8 minutes. But it's really good, and I think that like I'm able to do that. I'm a coward in horror, in the world of horror games. I don't like playing them alone, much like you, Patrick. And being able to play with other people has actually let me be the person who takes on the most like stressful scenario and be the most antagonistic and put myself at risk the most to getting killed by ghosts for some reason. I think that it is just hearing other people's voices and knowing that I'm contributing to a team thing and not just the horror game thing of like, I don't want to open this door because I know that there's a fucking creepy monster inside this door. I don't want to do it. Whereas here it's like, I want to do it. I want that $20. I want to buy a candle.
And I'm doing this for my friends.
I'm doing this for my friends. We can all buy a candle.
Fuck you, Mike.
It's good. I like it a lot. It's early access on Steam right now. There's a lot of streams out there. I know that the Giant Bomb folks have been streaming it, so you can probably watch that to get a sense of it. It's like $14 on Steam. It seems like to me it's gonna do very well. It seems like it is one of the games of the moment, like Among Us. I hope that they continue to add ghosts and more maps and just opening up the higher level maps and seeing the difference between like a 3-bedroom home and 2-floor high school is just terrifying. Because like, how do I even find a ghost in here? How do I even? It's gonna kill me in here. That's when I am gonna know. Oh yeah, there's a ghost here. I found it. I'm dead. So
well, I'm gonna sign up for this game just in time for them to do a licensing partnership with like the Blair Witch franchise. It's like, hey, you can hang out in the cabin in the woods from that movie. You want to go hang out in the basement? It's like, nah, I don't
Absolutely
actually.
not.
I don't think I
Absolutely
could. I genuinely think we're like, I think about that final shot of that film, like like it fucks me up. Like even 35 years old, if they put that in there, I don't think I could do it.
I mean,
don't think I could do it.
Sometimes a ghost does just like stand in a corner looking away from you.
See, I can do that. It's specifically like that place, that shot is just like burned in my psyche.
This would be such a good Blair Witch game. This would be so good at that.
This is close, like the not great blooper Blair Witch game, which I like, despite like a clip of me like losing my shit publicly shared. Like I didn't play more than an hour of that game. I was just like, I'm good. I don't need to shine my flashlight.
I thought you streamed that game. Didn't you?
I did like
game?
an hour. Like
Okay.
I got far enough to be like, this.
To have a feeling about it.
Yeah, I just didn't really care for it.
Yeah. That's fair.
If you like this sort of thing and you do want to be scared, I will shout out a movie called Grave Encounters from 2011. It is a bunch of assholes going into a place like what do we say it was called? Ghost Encounters? What was the one with the reality show that we talked about before?
BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural.
No, the one before that. This is it's like an AMC or whatever.
Ghost Hunters?
Ghost Hunters.
Yeah. It's where it's what it's taking the concept of ghost hunters and like lampooning it. Like, look at these assholes like going in, taking it really seriously, but then it actually all goes wrong and they actually do encounter like a bunch of like really terrible shit. And it's like, if you gotta like found footage and jump scares because that's all the movie is. But if you dig that stuff like I do, it is like, it doesn't look like it should be a good movie, but my wife and I were floored by it. The second one is but the first one is really good.
Yeah. I also just want to direct people to my Twitter feed because I had I made one long clip of me meeting the ghost named Paul, who absolutely first showed up as like a naked, charred body looking away from me in a tiny closet that scared the shit out of me. So people should go find that on my feed. It's fun. Anyway, less cursed stuff. Who's playing something that doesn't scare me to fucking death? Rob, are you still chipping away at Iron Harvest?
Yeah. Nothing much to report there. It's a really good single player campaign for an RTS. Like,
I gotta get back to it.
Is. It's kind of charming and there's a lot of story there. So it just ends up being. So to give you a little bit of backstory, like I'm mostly like the campaign is hard. So I'm still in the first campaign where you're basically in fictional Poland. And like it has a cool dynamic set up even there where you're kind of, because this thing is rooted in the history of Eastern Europe and particularly of like the Poland, Ukraine area. The Polanian campaign is very much one about like the anxieties of you're a young and weak nation with a history of like foreign invasion and occupation, and it's happening again. And like right out of the gate, it begins as a story of, you know, you're just a girl from a small village in Polania, and the Rusviets show up in their like big, like if you imagine what would diesel punk Soviet mechs look like, it'd be these fucking brutal like land shark type things marching everywhere. And it begins as a campaign of like resistance, and you join the resistance, and you know you're using your kind of shitty repurposed like agricultural mechs to fight back, and you got teams of riflemen like leading guerrilla raids against the Rusviets. And then it does something that was interesting early in this campaign. You meet a bunch of Polanian regular army troops, and they're like, stop what you're doing. Like, stop fighting the Rusviets. We're trying to negotiate a peace, and you are jeopardizing the treaty negotiations. And the leader of the resistance cell, who's your character's uncle, is basically like, you guys are just going to sell the country out. This is what always happens, is somebody in the capital is like, we can control this and we'll negotiate with the Saxons and the Rusviets, and we'll figure a way out of this. And it never works. And so the only way we're going to make these people go away is if we just make the cost of occupation unbearable to them. And what that sets up is this revelation that like your uncle, who's been sort of this mentor character for you, is such like an ardent nationalist that he's like actively trying to arrange a massacre that will become such a like cause célèbre of the Polanian people that like everyone will join the resistance and the negotiations will be off. But first he has to engineer this massacre of like an entire city. And so the next thing you end up doing is kind of splitting with him and trying to prevent his plan from going into motion. And it's just interesting because like superficially this game had such Company of Heroes vibes that I was a little bit turned off, where I was like, I've done this before. But it has a way more interesting campaign than Company of Heroes did. Like Company of Heroes had some good missions. Like I think we all remember if you play that game, there's a mission where first you take like Carentan, this town with a big church in the middle of it, and then you defend the church against like these waves of German troops. And so you had good missions in that game, but the story was very much like, you know, you're just a bunch of World War II American bros like going through and having all these adventures and encountering these major historical moments, but there wasn't much narrative to it. There was no story because the story was just the European campaign in World War II. This is actually really narratively dense with like a political backstory and like characters that have motivations that go way beyond like just go fulfill the next objective. And that turns out to be catnip for me. And I was talking about this with the guys on 3 Moves Ahead because in general, we all sort of got cynical about RTS campaigns because for the most part, they're not very good. And this one, I think, is good by those standards, but also it's been a while since we've seen anything this big as a campaign. And like suddenly it's just, I haven't had this meal in a while and I'm here for it.
I'm earlier in that campaign than you are. But it's funny how much seeing someone commit to doing it actually was like, oh, right. Like this doesn't feel perfunctory. This doesn't feel like it's latched onto this thing that like, we had to do a single player mode with this. It feels like, some of the like unit design stuff was built specifically so they could be certain big moments in the campaign. And I'm sure like they had to be rebalanced or carefully balanced so they could also exist inside of skirmishes and multiplayer stuff. But it's been so long since I've played an RTS game that takes that single player campaign stuff seriously enough to impact like unit design and character design and stuff like that. And it does. And yeah, I need to, now that we're like through the woods on certain games, I might have a little window where I can revisit it, which would be good. I am finally also getting to Squadrons, which I know you were very high on, Rob, and I'm like doing the thing of like, I want to finish the campaign in this before I really turn to multiplayer, because I just need to get used to the controls in a way that in a space where I don't feel bad about it. And I'm having an all right time. Some of the story stuff is like not fully sitting, not that it's sitting well with me. It's like, I don't know how far did Cado and Rob, you're both playing Squadrons, right? Did you get deep into the campaign at all, or y'all both mostly just doing multiplayer?
Not too far. My attention slid off it so fast that I was like, multiplayer is more fun for me.
Right, do you know how many missions you got in, Rob? I'm like around 8 or something, I forget.
Cado, you're probably around me. Did you see the big tractor beam sequence?
No, I might be right.
So you might be right behind me then.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. Okay.
The tractor beam sequence is fine. I'm not dissing the tractor beam sequence. Cool sequence. The thing that's sitting weird with me is and I know people have already talked about this, but like the Empire stuff is so weird on 2 different levels. One is like, it's 2020 and I don't want to play fascist remnants, which is what they are. But 2 is like the sort of like hand washing that's being done in terms of casting and characterization with them. It's very weird to play a game in which there was clearly an impulse to make sure the Empire, which is still mostly humans or entirely humans, was diverse in terms of skin color. And I don't say race because I don't think black exists in the world of Star Wars as a social race, a social category of race in Star Wars canon, quote unquote, even though as an entertainment product for humans on Earth, it absolutely continues to exist and absolutely influences the way characters are written and perceived and blah, blah, blah. But it's weird to sit down and be like, all right, so who is the Empire? And it's like women and brown people. There's like one white dude in this mix who is it's someone who has like the Lobot style head thing on, which I don't remember enough about to remember like if there's a sub name for humans who have that thing set up or not. But specific.
Yeah, they're intelligence officers, aren't they?
I think that's right. But Lobot didn't have that. Or did have that, but was not an Imperial one, right? Anyway, whatever. It sits weird with me because I don't need to see like, it's like more women drone pilots, right? It's that thing. Right. And it feels like that. And it feels like that even down to the ways in which it's like, and this person is, even their political beliefs. Someone is like, I wish the Emperor hadn't gotten rid of the Galactic Senate or the Imperial Senate because then we wouldn't be in this terrible situation where we have this power vacuum. And it's like, that's fine to have a character who says that, but when there's only 5 speaking Imperial characters on screen, that's one of the first things that you show me. It feels like you're uncomfortable having me be in the seat of the Empire, and that you want to kind of justify it or like make me feel a little more comfortable seeing this perspective on the war by saying maybe this is the one unit of like good Imperial soldiers. But remember, all of them are working on the back of slavery. All of them are part of this terrible oppressive regime that is still in power in many places in the galaxy at the point of this game.
I don't know. Maybe this is me giving them a little too much credit, but to me that felt a little bit like the ways that people trick themselves into being in that position, right? Like they justify those things for themselves and say like, oh, we're not the baddies yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Rob.
Okay. A quick history lesson here on the arc of the Empire.
Yes.
Not in fiction, but in the way it's like treated.
Yes.
Okay, so the Empire is pretty like Star Wars begins as kind of a Vietnam allegory. Very 100%. Simple. This is well known. Yes. Like the rebels are like
this is not an interpretation. This is Lucas's. This is word of God. What he was doing. 100%.
And the Empire are very much the American way of war. And they are trying to stamp out this insurgency, and they're resorting to increasingly brutal methods to do so. They're clearly the bad guys, and it is no accident that like a lot of their logic and approach and like technology echoes the increasing reliance on like American military technology.
Right.
Timothy Zahn comes along in the mid-90s and writes the Heir to the Empire trilogy. And right out of the gate, in the first chapter, the first character we meet is Captain, I think Gilad Pelion. Captain Pelion's a character who goes through the entire expanded universe, but he becomes, first character we meet is your archetypal honorable officer. A good man in service to a bad cause. And in the first chapter, as Pelion sort of fills in what's happened since Return of the Jedi, because they have to sort of invent this history, what followed Endor. And one of the things that Pelion reflects on in this first chapter is the Imperial Navy predates the Empire. It is an institution with traditions that predate the rise of fascism and go back to the Old Republic. And there was an officer corps that disapproved of a lot of Palpatine. He's very much like basically adopting the Wehrmacht rehabilitation narrative, where you have a Prussian officer corps that wanted nothing to do with this fucking Nazi shit. But once the Nazis held power, they served the state. The military serves the state. At this point, the two are interchangeable. They all get swept along in this current. Then there's this appreciation in popular culture. I think the first thing I can find might be a Washington Examiner article from the early 2000s, but in like some center-right to like right-leaning publications, there's this reinterpretation of Star Wars in the late 90s, early 2000s that begins to suggest, wait, were the Empire maybe the good guys?
Yeah.
And like this is an essay I think it's the first one I remember reading in this vein, but it's The Case for the Empire at the Washington Examiner, basically laying out, if you really look at it, the Empire is all about order. A lot of the things we see them do in the first movie are actually justified. Princess Leia is a hostile spy, and Alderaan is absolutely like a hotbed of terrorists and like support for the rebels. The Empire is basically trying to close out this war that's causing so much damage and destruction to the galaxy. And this kind of, I think, becomes increasingly how the Empire is regarded in the expanded universe. And I think Star Wars Squadrons is kind of following in that tradition. TIE Fighter as well embraces some of this.
It does. It does. Though I think one of the things that separates TIE Fighter is... one of the things that Squadrons, I think, specifically in the story, feels marked by is an anxiety about positioning the Empire that way, but that can't square it. Whereas with TIE Fighter 1 is almost is written naively from that position. There is no self-criticality about it, except for the understanding that that machine will eat itself. That, we talk a lot about we have talked about in the past, the sort of myth of the hyper-competent fascist state. We talked about this with like the way Wolfenstein kind of undercuts that at its best moments, does not fall into that trap. And I think TIE Fighter indicates that to some degree, which is the idea of like, listen, everyone here is going to like kill everybody else here inside of this empire, because that is one of the hallmarks of a fascist state, is that while loyalty is a thing demanded of citizens inside of the state, there's going to be intense competition and betrayal and no actual long-term structural growth in terms of institutions.
Just to interject there about TIE Fighter, I think it does a very smart thing, which is the first series of the campaign, you are intervening in a fratricidal civil war, basically. And the Empire comes in and steamrolls both sides and enforces a peace. And it's harsh, and you don't actually have any context for this, but you do put an end to a really brutal civil war. And so this is the Empire maybe at its best, right? They come in as a not neutral third party, but a third party so powerful it doesn't give a shit. And it just crushes these disagreements and imposes kind of a Roman peace.
Totally.
And
Go ahead.
Well, just to close the loop, the rest of TIE Fighter is you basically fighting Imperials gone bad, and people who see this entire thing and are they're like, I don't believe in this cause. The cause is corrupt. I'm in it for myself. That's kind of Harkov, who like sells out a Star Destroyer to the Rebel Alliance. Yeah. And then after that, you end up fighting Zarin, who is kind of the Albert Speer of the Empire, and he's just like, why should the Emperor run this? He's a fucking idiot. I'm the genius here. And the rest of it is the Empire fighting like full-scale civil wars with itself, while basically saying we're bringing order and stability to the galaxy, even as all hell breaks loose.
Totally. And this game does do some of that stuff. There is like a shitty Imperial governor who you run into at a certain point from the Imperial side of the campaign, who does not want to hand over the supplies you need to like, rebuild your from some losses and get your ship back right. Get your ship right again. And so like there's
there's even. Oh, I was just gonna say there's even that one guy, the one Imperial officer who like you're tailing some rebels. And the mission is to tail them, but this other one comes in and is like, they must die, obviously, right?
100%.
Like, we're going to fuck up your stealth mission because we're going to attack them.
Right. And so, like, again, it does do that incompetence thing, but the underlying thing very much is trying to position you as somehow more comfortable inside of the seat of a TIE fighter. And I don't know what the solution to that is, because I'm very wow cool robot about the TIE fighter. This game does a great job of communicating the difference between rebel ships and Imperial ships. The thing of like, these ships don't have shields, dude. Go fast, move your power between different systems real quick, and get in and get out is great. It feels incredible. The difference between the perspectives, being able to see only straight ahead versus being able to get a little bit more of awareness from an X-Wing, for instance. That stuff is all really communicates a lot about the kind of war methodology of these two fighting forces. But in the campaign narrative, it feels like I can feel the hand of the author, which it's hard to say that that's a bad thing when, as an author, I want people to recognize the work that that I do. But there's a difference between the sort of easiness by which a well-crafted story brings me in and the kind of speed bumps I hit when I go, oh, was this written for XYZ reason? And I want to be careful here, because I know one of the criticisms being brought to bear about this game is like, ugh, this is an SJW game, blah, 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 blah. There are people on the right who are already that person in a way that is dismissive of the project, not the execution. And I think that it's valuable to have brown and black characters on screen in a Star Wars game. There are lots of them in this game. When you create a character, you get, you kind of like create your officer, even though they don't really show up in cutscenes or anything, as far as I can tell. You get a pretty wide range of human faces to pick from, across gender and race. And that's cool. That's good. But it is like, there is a degree to which it's like, there was something clean and clear about A New Hope, showing you very clearly that the Empire was a bunch of white dudes. That is like who made decisions inside of the Empire. Those are the people who were put into positions of power. And not that those films, really foregrounded many people of color. But you look at a shot of rebel pilots or rebel officers, and it is a little bit more diverse than the Imperial side is. And that's not like a mistake necessarily. I mean, that wasn't like, oh yeah, we forgot to bring black people into the Empire. Like, no, like there's a message being communicated by those casting decisions.
I think well, I was going to say, because that avatar that you make at the beginning for the campaigns is actually the avatar that shows up in multiplayer battles.
Okay.
Like at the end of the score screen, you have all of your pilots lined up doing various poses, and your avatar that you made at the beginning is that person. And I feel like what they tried to push here was, because they wanted you to be able to make whatever avatar you wanted, the Empire had to become, at least for humans, humanly diverse. So they extended how many alien races are available for the Republic to kind of signal this, like, they're still better because they allow other actual species.
You fall
to
ass
join
backwards
them.
into the D&D race problem.
Race species. Exactly.
Like, humans are people. In this universe, humans are white people. Aliens are other races.
100%.
And that is not a construct because they're alien species.
Right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I think so. This all goes back to Lucas flinching from the idea of if he really wanted to get that message across, it wouldn't have been a white farm boy blowing up the Death Star, right? It would have been like probably in the 70s would have been somebody who looked a lot more like Cesar Chavez or something like that than Mark Hamill. And so instead he goes with, well, Americans are conditioned through education to like really distrust posh British dudes. So that's the Empire. And so that's why you get all these dudes who are like, no, the Empire shouldn't have like brown women in it because my Empire, the Empire I love, all sound like fucking Sargon. And so like that they're protecting that identity they've adopted.
That's true. That's true.
But like it does create this problem. Star Wars has become just iconic in this way where people want to play with the fucking TIE fighters and they don't want to. I want to play with the TIE fighter. I don't want to like engage with the weird race narrative around it. I don't want to engage with the like fascism that the TIE fighter represents. I just want to play with the cool starfighter. But then I think the other problem is the Empire was intended as analogous for a direction that was happening in American foreign policy, in American society. And because the US has never reckoned with that well, and never reckoned with the fact that, like, are we the baddies? We end up in kind of this absurd, we end up kind of mirroring our relationship with the DoD in general, which is that, yes, the causes are frequently bad, but the troops and the institutions are good.
With the solutions, yeah. I will say that one of the most interesting things happening in that game story, and we should move on at this point, but is seeing some of the New Republic stuff, the tension for a couple of the characters who were like, dogs, we used to be the rebellion. We did not have statutes and limitations put on the way we were doing shit. I was able to make a couple bucks on the side. No one cared that I was like doing my own Three Kings shit off to the side while fighting this empire. Now we have like, you know, governors to talk to. Now we have all sorts of like rules and regulations that didn't exist before. And that sort of professionalization of an army is interesting to see some of. I'm going to finish it because I actually think the mission design is incredibly good. I think that the location design is really great. And I am clicking with some of the companions or some of the other your wingmen characters. Though I do wish the story wasn't just stand in place and either get monologued at or witness two other people talking to each other.
Squadrons 2, just go full Wing Commander 3.
Please.
Let me seduce the reptile.
I'm begging
I hate the reptile,
Frisk.
but maybe, you know, hate very close to love.
Wow, true.
Horseshoe theory of feelings.
I learned that from Star Wars. Really quick, breaking news 18 minutes ago, Xbox rolled out a thing, Cado, you just let us know about this called Lightstream. That says, do you want to
font?
Yeah, the font's good. That's good. That's good font work. It's a good typeface right there. That seems to be a higher end version of streaming to Twitch.
Yeah, $8 a month.
It's $8 a month, huh? But that lets you do overlays, alerts, different scenes, and more without needing to invest in a streaming computer or a capture card. That's their copy. Anyway, that's interesting. That's funny that we raised it and
we made this tweet appear. Yeah, I mean it's wild that it kind of feels like you have to wonder whether or not Sony responds in any way to this, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of their like the like PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation 4 in-house streams are set up that way to do what we were talking about earlier, to kind of mine the content for on its own rather than help any individual creator.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't think people are going to use this.
I think people will use it.
People are.
There's a lot of
use
people
this.
who don't have a streaming computer, but who love streaming.
There are people who can't afford cap cards that stream from their consoles already to Twitch, but wish they could do overlays and scene changes and all that. Like,
I don't disagree that those people exist. I just wonder what the like this feels as though it's a half measure. Like what it should be is just this should just be built in. You shouldn't be paying $8 a month. This is what the culture is. And so saying like, I don't know, here's this thing you can go pay $8 for, go for it. I'm not disagreeing that it's not useful to swaths of people. I just think like the ceiling of that is not particularly high, and that the expectation should be that this should just be built into the UI.
I think that
of
should
these
be the
services.
expectation. I'm with you. I think that there is such a prosumer culture, the culture of like, I want to buy a green screen and a ring light and I want to make this look good. Here's the expectation for what a good stream looks like. I want to make affiliate. I want to make partner. That culture, I think, very quickly would become, oh, are you an Xbox streamer who doesn't spend the $8? Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I'll just watch someone who like really takes this seriously instead. Like that culture is kind of fucked and does totally exist.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I do think that those features should be free. I think that that's an important part of
some
doing
sort of
it.
way to tap into, in the same way that, like if Twitch didn't want things like OBS to exist, like they could clamp that down.
Yeah.
This is maybe more on Xbox's side than Twitch's side. Like I don't know where that begins, but it would be nice if there was a way for like software developers to do some sort of equivalent, or maybe it was cumbersome to use in the way that OBS is and Streamlabs are cumbersome to use, but they allow you to accomplish things without paying $8 a month.
Yeah. Patrick, before we wrap up, I know you played a couple things. I know you per Twitter anyway, you've successfully beat Hades, or at least you hit credits. Or did you hit credits?
I finished the first. No.
You got your
Credits
first
on
escape.
Hades.
You got your first escape.
Yes, first escape.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I escaped on my 25th attempt, which felt like a more satisfying escape than on the Hades cast. I mentioned that I had like many escapes before that. I had a run with a build that was just like me tapping the A button, and I was like just kind of like marching through. Like I'd never made it to Elysium, I'd never made it to the final area, I'd never made it to Hades, but I was just sort of like a tank, just like working my way through the second half of the game. It wouldn't have felt particularly satisfying. Whereas like this run felt like I've internalized a lot of the game. Like I've spent I have taken I have scars to show for my runs, and like so this run felt like really satisfying. And so I want to see the credits where, I think you have to beat the game a number of times in order to, I don't know I literally haven't even done like the dialogue after the run to see what's changed and like what opens up to see like the credits. But I do feel like slightly released from the game in the way that Spelunky, when you beat Olmec, is not.
Yeah.
That's not really beating the game. Like going to hell, seeing like the quote unquote real ending, I feel like is you can beat Olmec and feel satisfied. I think like you've experienced an arc of Spelunky, and then it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to just end it here, or do you want to take this to a certain mastery where you have to like really internalize a lot of what's going on in this game to an even higher degree? And I feel like that's what I've hit with Hades. Is like I could set this down and it would still be probably one of my favorite games of the year, if not my favorite game of the year. But it lets me at least like move it off. Like I can go play something else. Like cool. Like I've done that. I can still dip into Hades. I'm going to pick at it. I'm going to work my way towards that credits. But like a certain weight has, a weight has been lifted.
Right. Do you think you'll go back to Spelunky at this point and try to get that win?
Probably
Didn't
not
you read
now.
Patrick's fuck Spelunky piece?
I did read when Patrick said, fuck Spelunky. Yo, fuck Spelunky. You're a coward, Spelunky. Show yourself. How old are you, Spelunky?
The shit ain't Hades.
Spelunky 2, I saw that Derek, you out here saying like maybe we're going to make World 1 easier for folks. So I don't know. Maybe Spelunky 2 is the coward. I also think it's probably the right choice. I think the balance of that game opens really harsh in a way that
game felt built for us when we were playing Spelunky daily, and not for us.
Right, like I beat Spelunky
after.
and it's like, yo, I opened this, you beat hell, and it says, here's a code for Spelunky 2. Like, have fun. Yeah. As opposed to like having taken, 4 years off or whatever, where the gap was between. No, I think Spelunky 2, I think I'm like officially punting on it for like right now. It's a game where like I have so much coming down the pike, right? Like I'm gonna have to play Demon's Souls, Cyberpunk's coming out, Assassin's Creed's coming out. Like there are just like giant games like in front of me where I'm gonna have to make choices. And so Watch Dogs is coming out in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like that's
get ready, Austin.
Oh wow, you're teaming me up, huh? That code hasn't hit yet, right? I'm not.
No, it's not
wasting my time.
I gotta check in on that.
We gotta get you jacked in, son. Join the resistance.
Join the resistance.
Here, I graffitied this pig mask for you.
Dude, there was new footage. Did we talk about this? The Watch Dogs. Sorry to interject in this moment, Patrick. I know you were building something. Did you see?
I'm gonna play it next year. That's the answer. I'm gonna play Spelunky 2 when things have calmed down, and I'll get back
I got
to
two
it.
Watch Dogs things. One is there was another trailer for Watch Dogs Legion that dropped out of the last Ubisoft one. Okay, actually, wait, pause. Time out. First of all, do you remember during the last Ubisoft event when
we're in a lot of
we're come on, I'm gonna keep taking the fucking revealing another egg inside of not egg. What are they? What a mushroom Matryoshka doll. Not Fabergé eggs. Fabergé eggs and Matryoshka dolls, different things. Do you remember when Yves Guillemot said or did that apology for recent Ubisoft bullshit, and then the response on social media was we're going to stitch that onto the front of this video when it hits YouTube? Nah, I checked it like 3 days ago. It was not on there as of then. So that just never happened. That just never happened. I think it's its own video on YouTube. And so just put it out there that sometimes people will say, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to take care of this in post," and then it does not get taken care of in post because why would it? Two, the thing that I was going to talk about is they did more Watch Dogs Legion reveal stuff. And two things that I think were very worth, I guess there's a story trailer and then there was a further DLC reveal. In the story trailer that's made me more like, oh, here we go. The revelation, of course, is the true baddie seems to be the real terrorist, the terrorist who blew up the thing at the beginning of the game and who, is the one who it very much feels like this person is taking things too far. We have to be the force that brings them, that puts the leash on the evil terrorist organization 0 Day. We got to be the good terrorist organization. We have to make a citizen arrest on these motherfuckers to bring things back to normal. And obviously it's still a game that is fundamentally seems like it wants to critique dystopian oppressive regimes or whatever. But that story trailer lowered my confidence in the twists and turns to come from that game in a big way. I hope that I'm wrong, but it made me feel like, oh, okay, the whole thing is going to be unmasking this person who wants change, who wants things to be better too badly, who wants to take, do the things that go a little bit too far, which is like such a classic shitty antagonist, role. The second thing, which I thought was very funny, is they did reveal more about the season pass for that game. Do you remember the Aiden Pierce reveal that was part of that stream? So they revealed
that guy.
It's that guy. No one gives a fuck
remember
about.
Some guys. What was his name again?
Iconic Hat, Mr. Iconic Hat. They revealed that he is one of 4 characters as part of the DLC that he's in that you'll get to play as, and all 3 of the other characters are more interesting. One is Wrench from Watch Dogs 2. Wrench is great. I wish his boyfriend, Marcus, was also here. That doesn't seem to be the case. 2 is someone with psionic powers. A woman who just has gotten some... Yeah, just straight up, dude. She is... I'm trying to find what her name is. She was like, part of some experiment. They literally say that she is like a transhuman character who had some mental powers. Straight up it says possesses the ability to mind control individuals. So at that point I'm like, this is now a different genre of world and game than what you've set up. Finally, the 4th person that they're putting in this game is a new character who is an assassin from Assassin's Creed. It's a modern assassin, the thing that people wanted in the Watch Dogs series since day 1, and now it's been 5 years and no one cares. Like now she's a character who's going to exist in this DLC. I bet people are not even going to know this exists, but the idea of like, oh yeah, I want to play a member of the Assassin's Brotherhood in the modern day has been a thing that people were clamoring for 8 years.
If they brought back Ezio.
Bring back
Ezio could have done it.
Well, and it's not even, you're not even playing as far as I know, the current like lead from the Assassin's Creed games. This is a different Assassin's Creed character, I believe.
Well, the current lead is an Abstergo flunky, right?
Oh, you're right.
No, wait. Hold on.
Does
she might not be. I can't remember.
Anyway,
they've also said they've also explicit, even though like Ubisoft just flirted with the UB cinematic universe, like interconnected, like lore stuff. I think they had to like get out in front of this and be like, no, like this is just for
What?
This is just for funsies. Yeah.
It's just for funsies. You can't say that.
Pretty sure.
Sort
I
of
saw
like
that.
how Predator doesn't really exist in the Ghost Recon world. Like,
This says it's a crossover. They really walked us back. That's sad. That's disappointing. You can't say it's a crossover if it's not a crossover. You know? Ugh, bummer. Anyway,
Austin's holding out like character shows up with like a thumb drive and it's like ATO.DAT and it's like, here we go. We got him, boys.
Listen, there was a real long period of time there where I really enjoyed playing those Assassin's Creed games, and I think a lot of us really wanted the modern day Assassin's Creed thing that was promised throughout all the Desmond arc and that we just straight up never got. We got like 2 little mini levels of Desmond punching people. And I was like, really? None of this built to, and now we're in a modern day Assassin's Creed setting? Really? And I was hoping.
Was that basically because they didn't want to pay the voice actors any, like,
I have no idea.
They basically want to dump Nolan North and Kristen Bell, right? That was
Kristen Bell was the other lead. Yeah. I don't remember what the behind the scenes stuff was. I just remember being disappointed that they didn't ever cash in on it. Anyway, that game's out in a couple weeks, and I guess I'm playing it for coverage, so that's fun. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. There's stuff there that I'm interested in. I saw someone do a Stone Cold Stunner, which seemed good. So there's always that.
Producer. I don't even okay. How would you even? I'm gonna pull the room. How would you say that name?
We're off to a good start here.
What I would do is type it into Google and type pronounce and try to make sure that I don't fuck it up.
I don't even want to try because I don't want to. I have to be insulting to try and for me to attempt this name.
I think Latieshi is how I would pronounce that. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But Latieshi,
Thilianthan? Yeah,
Thilianthan. Yeah.
Sure. It's close. I think it's close we're gonna get. Anyway, there's I guess a video. There's a quote from them that says, "She's not canon," referring to the assassin in Watch Dogs Legion. It's purely a fan service from our side and also the Assassin's Creed side.
Okay.
She goes on to highlight that the Legion team is, quote, not trying to build a joint universe between Watch Dogs. And
that's a bummer. It's fine.
No, then as I was reading in a different article, like previous like Easter eggs, they then in later games just like retconned into canon. So I think it's like, well, if people really like this character, it's gonna happen. Canon is whatever you want it to be, and so
on some level, like 90% of gamers have seen the first few hours of every Ubisoft game, and like 0% have seen the last 5 of every single one of them. So you can be like, yeah, that who can say whether this person exists in this universe?
God. Anyway, that's what's on my mind with Watch Dogs. Patrick, do you want to quickly shout out For Gone, the other game I know you've been hitting?
Not really. It's a
damn.
It's a
just giving it the Spelunky 2 treatment.
Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. You watch a trailer, and that game just looks like Dead Cells, and it plays a lot like Dead Cells, but in a like more traditional structure. So it has loot drops that you're dealing with, but it looks like Dead Cells, but like a not great version of Dead Cells.
Gotcha.
I mean, it seems it's fine. Like you could do worse, but it was one of those like I played it for 40 minutes and was like, all right, I'm good.
You're that's it. You're done.
Foregone. Yeah.
All right. Well, Cado, I know you also wanted to quickly shout out something, but I don't have it in front of me, so I don't have the name.
Oh yeah, this demo I played. It was interesting. Let me double check what the name is because I also forget.
Speaking of double checking names,
yeah,
Latish. It's the person who's at the start of the Watch Dogs Legion post launch and season pass content trailer and who narrates it and pronounces his own name. So there we go. Anyway, Cado, go ahead.
Somebody I forget where I saw this, but somebody mentioned this game as think Sekiro, but place it in early or I forget what dynasty. In Chinese folklore instead of Japanese folklore, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, let's see how that feels. I mean, why can't I find this game in my library?
Yuan Sword 7.
Yuan, yes. Yeah, Sword 7.
And somebody mentioned it because Steam had that Games Fest where there was like a bunch of demos you could download.
Right.
And I checked it out and it was pretty neat, and the I could see how people make the comparison to Sekiro. But it ended up really kind of pointing out what the extra, like how important it is that FromSoft really tweaks the combat animations on things and the way that changes combat feel. Like this game had the similar like systems of like there's the posture bar, doing the perfect parry makes the posture bar fill up quicker on the enemy. But the enemies didn't have the same sort of reactions to being blocked. They also didn't ever react when you hit them in a way, and like
it's like more like you're doing damage
tweaks
to a meter than you're doing than
right,
as being
exactly.
represented on screen. Yeah,
and it's surprising how much like those animations are not even like you can blink and miss them in Sekiro because they're quick, small things, but like it really kind of brings out how much those small details kind of add up to the feeling of really taking an enemy off guard, taking an enemy like off balance and stuff like that. It was kind of interesting to see like a separate, and like here's the weirdest thing is that it still felt okay. It still felt all right to kind of play, but it ended up being because it was a little easier to take these enemies out, where like if it had been as hard or if it had taken as many hits as it would to take a Sekiro enemy out, it would have been super frustrating to not have that feedback and not understand what I'm doing wrong when I'm fighting like this boss enemy or whatever. Right.
That's the demo is free on Steam, presumably?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
And so it's like just really made me appreciate the like small details in how even if the systems are the same, the combat in Sekiro is really finely tuned to really make it feel much more impactful.
Yeah. You know what's wild to think about? Speaking of FromSoft, I recently saw some people shit talking the PS2 launch lineup, and I just realized that there were like 3 or 4 FromSoft games at the PS2 launch, and if that had happened now, everyone would lose their shit. And I just feel like we didn't know what we had. Now, I'm not saying Eternal Ring and Evergrace are as,
so they made different games back
poised
then.
Listen, Armored Core 2 is an incredible video game. But
hold on, one of their old games is called Eternal Ring?
Yeah, yeah,
what is
yeah, put it together.
God damn it.
I don't remember if that one I think one of the two of them is someone else's IP, but I don't think it. I think Eternal Ring. If Elden Ring ended up being an Eternal Ring sequel, I would just love it so much.
Just the way that Dark Souls is a Demon Souls quote unquote sequel, but not really, right?
But not like, really. Yeah, exactly. But I actually think
it would be so much like a Lost Vikings type situation if Blizzard ever did that. Where people would be like, haha, this is relevant to my area of interest. It's the one thing I know that other people do not. I am the Lost Vikings lover. Somebody's gonna be like, I'm the Eternal Rings lover. Finally. Let me tell you. Let me you may not know what this is a reference to. If you played Eternal Ring, this is very clever. I love what they do in the scene. This is a little callback to Eternal Ring. Oh, you didn't play Eternal Ring? I thought you were a FromSoft fan. Oh, I guess you didn't. Demon Souls where you discovered them? Okay, so you came a little late.
So you don't know shit about Kane Morgan, huh? You don't know anything about Kane Morgan or the 4 types of magic rings that can be found and created on the island, huh? No? Okay, cool. Someone should go back and play that game.
Don't get me started on that island.
Here, I created a video series on this. If you just watch these 4 videos, I think you'll be caught up and you'll be able to appreciate this game.
I'm going to try to find a good Eternal Ring Let's Play and see if it's see what learnings I can have from this. Anyway, I'm just saying, FromSoft, give us a new Armored Core game, please. All right, thanks.
I thank God Elden Ring's not coming out this year. I can't handle it. There's too much.
Yeah, but we would both drop everything else to play that game.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying. I've made my peace that that game is probably far off. It's probably not till like later next year, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, about a Demon Souls away.
Take your time.
Apparently. All right. On that note, we should wrap things up. It's been a long one. We'll be back on Monday for another one. Patrick, you're out, right, on Monday?
Will not, yeah. So I will have a piece on Assassins, Amnesia Rebirth on Monday. Not quite a review. I've played like 2/3 of it, so I'll have some thoughts on it. But
are you sure you played 2/3 of it? Did you be able to pull up the UI and check to see how many more minutes?
There was a developer walkthrough that was given with it, and occasionally I check it to see which page of the PDF am I on.
Look at this wunderkind. He knows this piece is going to go up on Monday.
He knows.
It's Thursday, but Patrick knows that like he'll get it done. Whereas
I have tomorrow off and Monday off, and it's noon. I have 5 hours between now and then to time a baby nap with writing 1,200 words on Amnesia Rebirth.
You'll get there. I believe in you. I believe in you.
It won't happen. So,
Rob,
and then I'll talk about it next week.
Rob and Cado, I think we'll see you on Monday, and Guido will be joining us to talk about some other games. So look forward to that. What?
Wow.
Not shaved by then.
Oh,
you know?
I'm excited.
Please don't. I want to come back next Thursday and just
for you, Patrick. For you,
bigger than before.
Not shave or bathe. But just for you, my friend.
A little no shave and bathe.
No, I don't like this. Thank you for joining us. As always, you can send questions to gaming@vice.com. We'll have to do a question bucket deep dive soon. As always, you can follow us on twitter.com/waypoint. Follow me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. Where can people find you?
Eternal Ring is just King's Field. I'm watching this.
Is it just King's Field? Is it just a King's Field?
Yeah.
But it has
it's a first person.
But it
Time
has
is a flat
it
circle.
does have cool magic ring stuff. That is the thing I remember about it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But it is just like first person dungeon crawler.
Well, this is the thing that's wild. It's like, and then also they put out Evergrace, a different JRPG, a different RPG.
Isn't like an action RPG? Right?
I want to say Evergrace has an action RPG vibe at least, which maybe that means that is also the thing that then eventually becomes Souls? Is that the design direction? I don't know. Patrick, next week I'd like to see some investigation into these games. I remember Evergrace has like that dude with silver hair on the cover. That's what I remember about Evergrace. That's kind of it. He kind of
this is just an action game.
Or is it? Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe there's something else going on there.
Damn.
Someone's already done all this research. We could just find these articles that have already been written.
Sony will just throw them into the PS5 UI.
Yeah.
just
let me.
Yeah, can I play Evergrace on my PS5? Why wasn't that in the video?
Why wasn't that listed in the backwards compatibility thing? Where can people find you on the internet, Cado?
At @A_Cado_appears.
Rob.
Under a brand new comforter, a new down comforter. I'm gonna be very cozy. I'm bunkered in for the winter. It's gonna be a long winter of COVID and like political upheaval. And
18 days. 18 days to the election as of this recording.
18 days until the general strike begins to force the administration to observe the election results.
I hope so. Yeah. Will we have the political will to make anything happen? Who could say?
Well, with Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Dianne Feinstein on the case, led by Joe Biden, I think we're gonna see some big fucking changes in the coming year.
Rob.
Welcome to Rob's new podcast, The Optimistic Spin.
It's
The Optimist, starring
Rob Zacny, the eternal optimist. Patrick,
Joanne's gonna roll into Washington with a 6-pack of judges in his briefcase.
I just need. Nothing's gonna end at the election. We know this for many reasons.
But it's dangerous to even entertain the notion that this drove me crazy in 2016, where everyone's like, "Oh, I can't wait for this election to be over," and it's like, no, my friends, this election is clarifying. Like, embrace this shock to the system. These are your smelling salts. This is who we've always been.
Totally,
you just can't pretend anymore.
I just want to I just want to relabel a tab. Do you know what I mean? In the Trello of my mind, I would like to turn this one that says politics and elections to just say politics now for a minute. You know what I mean? Just for a little bit.
Do.
I just want to just it's not even clearing it so much as changing the color of the post-it note. You know what I mean? I just need to freshen it up a little bit just to get a little bit of breathing room again in my fucking brain.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I do not need to be revisiting 538 again on a semi-daily basis. Be like, wonder what the projections are these days. Ooh, the election snake is looking
Rob,
fine.
stop it. You need to
Are
stop.
you hanging out
Georgia
with
going
5e
blue?
Fox?
What are you
Rob?
doing? Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't
You-
look at the numbers.
You can't change the numbers by looking at them.
I won't have to hear about Amy McGrath ever again. Jesus Christ, that wallowing
For
fucking
6 years.
campaign
For 6 years, and then she'll be back.
She'll be
No,
back.
Long
she
enough to
won't.
forget.
She'll be like doing consultancy for some sort of like for Raytheon or some shit.
For whatever new war we end up.
Joe
starting.
Biden has betrayed the Trump agenda. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks,
You're great.
Thanks so much for your support. Oh, don't support it. Oh God. Anyway, we would need a dedicated podcast to talk about these things. We don't have them, so instead, I'll say, Patrick, where can people find you on the internet?
At Patrick Kubek watching the gamer Darius doing his part 2.
My
of
favorite
his
emperor.
Let's play for Darius,
Uh-huh.
not emperor.
Darius is an emperor.
What is that?
We can't go down this road
whatever.
either. We need a third podcast about history. If only they would let us do 8 podcasts, I think we'd be in a better place.
That'd be
Oh
great.
my god! I cut the internet cable. I'm out of here.
Bye, Patrick.
Rob and Austin, have fun. You start your podcast network.
We're doing it. Let's just do it. You know what? Fuck
Hey
it,
Patrick,
man.
do you like The Mentalist?
How far in are you, Rob? Have you gotten to the
Oh
big...
my god. So we just got rid of evil Elon Musk. Sorry, once again, redundancy. Evil Elon Musk. I need to stop saying that. We just got rid of the Elon Musk analog because he tried to kill a bunch of kids. Or
That
just maybe
show's
just
great.
one kid, but it kept going wrong. Anyway, that rocked.
You're getting real close to one of the coolest things in that show. So I'm going to shut up. We're going to end this podcast. Is there Bowen? Shout out to Bowen. Let's use the track "Miss You" off the EP Panel Machine. Find out more about that at waypoint.zone/BO. Yeah, I got an email today.
When's that thing go up on HBO Max? When does that thing go up?
What thing?
You know what I'm
What
talking
thing?
about. You know what I don't want to say. I don't
Oh,
wanna
that
say- I can't say
thing.
it
When's
out
that
loud.
thing go up on
Genlock?
HBO?
When is that?
No,
when
not
is that?
Genlock.
No,
shut up. I'm checking.
It's inspirational music.
Let's see.
Oh,
Don't spoil
no.
it. Don't spoil
Don't
it.
Wait,
say
what?
it. Don't.
I'm
say
checking. I'm checking. Date. Here we go. That
it. You
is.
can say the date and let people can do
It's
the.
today.
people can do
It's
their own
up
thing.
I thought
right
it was
now.
today. That was the 15th.
What?
Fuck.
We could just go. We could just keep it rolling, baby. Let's just do a live commentary.
We just have to fill 7 short hours.
God.
I think I have a meeting in 3 minutes, so I can't do it now. But
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum.
No. It's fucked up how that's what made me understand what you all were talking about.
okay.
It's a fucking
Well,
drum.
some
it.
promises
I
were
hate
made in a
private
DM.
DM about maybe
We'll see what
watching
happens.
something and reporting.
No.
With special appearances by Lin-Manuel
Stop.
Miranda, Bill Clinton, and the New York Yankees.
Can we turn off this podcast? I'm hungry for food and not this.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Be safe. Fuck capitalism. Go home. Etc. Etc. You already know what it is. Bye.
What do you think has better odds, the election or pulling Venti?
Pulling Venti because you can always just throw money at it until you get the result you want.
Wait, isn't that how the election works? Hey.
Hey, got him. All right, I'm gonna go eat lunch. Bye, bye, bye.
Whoop. Hello.
Hello, Rob.
How's it going?
What's going?
Was that your desk?
Yes. I was adjusting its position.
I would have, for a second, I was like, is there like some sort of like, backhoe outside
Did you
of
hear the
Rob's
hydraulic
apartment?
noise, or
Yeah.
did you hear
The-
the,
the-
pneumatic, like
Uh-huh.
the farting noise?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, ever since we moved, the desk makes a weird, like, just ass ripping noise when, like, one of the
Shit.
legs adjusts position. The newer one that was only assembled once doesn't make that, and it's perfectly quiet. But this one, ever since reassembling, like clearly some pocket of air got into the system when it was taken apart, and now it's just part of the pageantry.
Is Patrick here?
I think Patrick's having audio difficulties.
Patrick's
I think.
camera is
Patrick's
frozen.
being really still.
No.
Oh wait, is Patrick also? Patrick is frozen.
Patrick's frozen. Boy, hostile vibes. Just won't even look at us. Fuck all y'all.
Now I know why
like
Discord was muted.
Why was Discord muted? Because you didn't want to hear Rob.
Because you were sending me messages last night while I was playing, and so I wanted the Discord sound to stop fucking doing that. It just did the notifications through my phone, and then I was like, "Why is Discord muted and my headphone works with everything else?"
I broke it. All right. Check 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Why Roquan Smith is starting to become the leader of the defense for the Bears? Sure, he is. Yeah.
Oh, you
sound kind of loud, Austin.
I brought myself back down, but Audacity doesn't see me at all. 1 second.
Oh, weird.
I was loud too. I've turned it down.
I'll be as loud as I want to be.
Damn.
Cado can fix it in post, but I'm just going to explore the space.
A memoir by Rob Zacny. Loud as I want to be.
My life is the low-key presence on 3 understated podcasts.
The good one. What if they were making a The Last Dance, but about you? What would it be called?
Wow. Good question.
Frozen? I'm frozen for you guys?
No, that was
you
before.
That was ages ago. That was old information, Patrick.
We good?
Sorry,
we're all good.
Okay.
Sure.
We're already starting late, Patrick. We can't be held back by your delayed processing. Of
yes,
information.
my I apologize for my constant delays. I'm always late.
Happy Global Hand Washing Day, everybody.
Never been more important.
It's true. It's true. All right, Ty, that is.
How old is Global Hand Washing Day?
Well, how old's?
When is global wash your fruits and
is...
vegetables from the grocery store? I don't do that shit anymore. So glad I don't do that shit anymore.
You're just like,
GlobalHandWashingDay.org.
It's not really transmitted through your hands anymore. I just don't. I don't worry about. I mean, like I still
it never was.
Yeah, anymore is very funny.
But I mean, like in terms of like priorities, like you know, it's not that big.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, 2008.
Worried about these UPS boxes in my house. Put that shit in the garage.
Damn it.
Burn it like the thing.
God, did you see those clips going around of Kurt Russell and John Carpenter?
I saw you paste
this?
it, and I have not watched it. I know.
It's so fucking funny. I mean, like, it's like the Laserdisc commentary or whatever. It's probably out there in full, but it's just them cracking the fuck up at all these like horrendous moments in the thing as monsters are like tearing their way out of people and people are being burned alive. And it's just Kurt Russell cackling. It's so funny.
He, it's, you know, I'm not saying you should go and watch this by yourself, but Kurt Russell is in this, I guess now it's a series on Netflix, but these Christmas movies where he plays Santa Claus.
Santa, yeah.
And it's a good, like, in the hierarchy of kids movies forced to watch, like he's really funny in it. It's like actually like a great time, except for the fact that the movie is like secretly about like parents accepting the death of their father. It was like a twist I did not see coming in this kids movie. I was like sobbing in front of my daughter and like hiding my face watching this at a Thanksgiving a couple years ago. But anyway, the takeaway is that Kurt Russell's very good in it. And if you have to sit around and watch a holiday movie with your family sometime, there are like worse things to recommend than watching.
Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that this year.
That's true. You're good. You could just, Rob, you can just pour yourself a scotch and do it by yourself.
This is Rob and the Christmas Chronicles. Taking it back. I just want to say on the record,
Waypoints about the Christmas Chronicles sequel comes out a couple weeks.
I would rather watch the Kurt Russell Santa movie than the Mel Gibson Santa movie, which seems like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Santa was racist.
I don't know. I'm gonna end up watching that movie like on HBO Max at like 11:15 on like a Saturday night when my wife's asleep. As the destiny of that film.
God. All right. I'm doing a clap. We all ready? Let's do 25.
Fast.
Quick one. Keep you on your toes.
Good one.